launching, right? Okay. Well, I wrote that. Well, actually, if I didn't write it, the woman that did had me in mind. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the winter of 1987. I was about 5 or so, and my mother, my brother, my sister, and I piled into my mother's station wagon. It was burgundy and metal and clunky, and we headed to the local mall. So while there, we shopped. I asked for every Barbie accessory, doll, house, car that I saw. And once we were tired, we went to a sitting area where men were holding their wives' purses, elders sat and rested, and took a break. While there, I noticed a clearing in the floor, a stage, if you will. And immediately, I felt the urge to dance. And so I did. With plaits in my hair, snow boots on my feet, I walked over, took my place, and danced like my life depended on it. I cut up. A woman stopped and she noticed, and she said to my mother, "Wow, is your daughter always that free?" Now looking back, I realized that it wasn't freedom that I was feeling. I just hadn't been taught to fear. See, children often learn to respond to fear from their parents. If you're afraid of spiders, your kids might be afraid of spiders. From their traumatic experiences and also just life events. And what I didn't know was that my life was about to teach me a lesson in fear that I was not prepared to handle. Being molested changed my life and the world as I knew it. So I lived my life as much as anyone could be in fear. Fight, flight, or flee. I froze. It was like suspended animation. I couldn't do anything. I became afraid of the men that had been in my life. I was afraid of teachers. None of these people meant me harm, but I swore that no one would ever catch me off guard again. And so I learned to predict things that would happen. I had a day planner that was scribbled full of every moment of my day. Where to go, who would be there, what time I needed to leave, and how I could protect myself. See, sometimes fear causes us to stop and stop immediately, like don't touch the hot stove. Or sometimes it causes us to stop and survey our surroundings and figure out how to proceed, like if you hear a dog bark. Well, for me, I was paralyzed. During my studies and my training as a therapist, I reached out and got support. In that, I learned that I was not broken, but I was simply trying to protect me. I was trying to protect little Candyce from being hurt again. There, I also learned that fear and fearlessness had the same energy. According to the American Association of Anxiety and Depression, childhood sexual abuse is a strong predictor of anxiety, PTSD, and depression later in life. I pretty much had all of those. So I examined fear and fearlessness, and I thought, well, maybe it's the thought that I attach to both that make the difference for me. It was there that I regained power over what had once paralyzed me. I'm reminded of a story called Big Fish. You may have seen it. The main character, Edward, is estranged from his son because he tells these tall tales of courage and bravery, and his son can't stand it. In the film, Edward, as a young boy, goes off and finds this witch. He and his friends knock on the door, and the story says that if she raises her eye patch and you look into her eye, you can see the way in which you'll die. Edward knocks on the door, she opens it, and she stares intently into these adolescent boys' eyes. Edward sees exactly how he would die. Throughout the film, he's fighting monsters and giants and living such a courageous existence because he knew exactly how his life would end. What would you do differently in this moment, today, if you knew exactly how your life would end? Regardless of what that thing is that you are so fearful of, I want you to know that this is not how you die. Thank you.